growing up in it is what sparked the initial interest because we were born into it. My mother was a singer, her sisters were singers, and I was born and raised Adventist. And music is a big part of the Adventist religion. He was like, do one lower. I was like, okay, I did one lower. And then he was like, you can do one lower again. I did do one lower. It was almost close to the bass register. And he was like, okay, now go on top the first one. I went. And he was like, all right. So again, he was like, oh, but Lily have octaves, man. Okay, so Caribbean neo soul is a fusion of neo soul with the elements that of Caribbean music. So we have bouillon, which is there all through the year, and I love my bouillon. I think we've done exceptionally well in the area of bouillon.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Greetings to everybody, and welcome to another edition of Love Bouyon Talks. And if you didn't know, this is a series where we go out there and we find the people that work hard to keep the culture alive, whether it's Bouyon culture, whether it's Dominica culture, whether it's Caribbean culture. And today we have a very, very special guest, different from what we usually have. But the reason we have this guest today is because we're celebrating a very specific time in Dominica. Jazz and Creole, for those of you that don't know about it, this is the season for Jazz and Creole. It's a different time. It's not the typical music. It's a different style of music that we celebrate in Dominica this time of year. And this guest we have right here is one of the people that's at the forefront of the Jazz and Creole movement here in Dominica. She has performed worldwide. She just released an album, but most importantly, she was one of the main acts at the Jazz and Creole event that just concluded literally yesterday. Well, by the time we post this, it will be a week ago, but literally yesterday, she just concluded the Jazz and Creole event. I want you guys to welcome to the platform Li Octave.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Right,
I'm
nice
doing
to have
great.
you.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Good stuff, good stuff. All right, introduce yourself to the people.
Okay, so I'm Li Octave, also known as a Caribbean neo soul queen, Dominica born and bred and raised.
Yes, sir.
And like he said a while ago, we're just coming off of the hype, the peak of the jazz season. So I'm also very versed in the local genres, or the R&B, jazz, and so on. So this is Li Octave.
All right. Li Octave, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so before we get into it, this is a question that we ask all the guests that come on the platform. So for the people out there, first of all, what village do you represent?
Man, I always tell people I have local dual citizenship
Dual
because
citizenship.
yeah, I am I'm born and raised in Roseau, also raised from Tibo. My mom is from town, and my father is from Tibo.
Tibo.
Yes,
Okay,
so I
okay.
have south and north.
North, okay.
Yes, so that's where I'm from. My mom was raised in Goodwill, and then they moved to Bath Estate at a certain point, and then we have Tibo. Almost everybody in the north, in the Tibo Paybush area, they're all connected that way. Yeah.
I have to say, I never really spent any time up there. That's something I have to put on my list.
You have to
Yes.
do it. It's
Yes,
so
yes.
calm, so nice. Yeah.
All right, so the next question, I guess, Thibaut, we haven't had anybody on the platform that represent that area. So let's focus on Thibaut.
Yes.
If you were speaking to somebody out there in the diaspora, right? So a young person, their mom, their dad, or even their grandparents from Thibaut, but they themselves in America, UK, somewhere like that.
Yeah, they in the diaspora.
And they never actually came to Dominica, never been to Thibaut. Tell them something interesting about Thibaut that would make them want to come and visit.
Well, Tibo is a small village before Vickers, going down to Vickers, Kenville, if you're coming from town, that area. And Tibo is a very together community. This was an area that, we did the fishing and so on. You have the Atlantic Sea that is right there. But we still, country people, we don't worry with the Atlantic sometimes. We'll still go and bathe in the sea. And yeah, Tivo is very quiet. You can still enjoy the scenery. Not the infrastructure and so on hasn't taken over that village. We're still together community, and yeah, they can when they come back. If you want to get away from the hustle and the bustle of everything that's in town, and you want to go and enjoy nature and enjoy everything that's secluded, that's where you go. There is the cottages in Tivo. Oh my goodness, I should have remembered it before I mentioned it. But I get it. There's areas where you can stay now. There are accommodations where you can stay in the area and actually enjoy being there. You can stay there for the weekend, for a week if you want to, and just enjoy there.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So the next thing I want to ask is obviously we're going to try and understand your journey as a musician. So the first thing I want to ask is, as a child, I would imagine you was into music from day one.
Ah, yes.
What sparked your initial interest as a child in
Well,
music?
growing up in it is what sparked the initial interest because we were born into it. My mother was a singer. Her sisters were singers, and I was born and raised Adventist. And music is a big part of the Adventist religion.
Okay.
So you have Friday night worship to bring in the Sabbath, and then at church, lots of singing. Then at the end of Sabbath, to close the Sabbath, you have worship again, and then singing is part of that. So when you grow up in large families like we did, um, mom is singing, aunties are singing, granny and grandpa singing, my dad's a musician.
So everybody.
Everybody. When we're in town, my mom's family, then when I go to Tivo, it's still Adventist again. So then we have my dad's family, his brothers, everybody plays instruments.
Okay.
So apart from singing, I also play the keyboard and the guitar. So I got that from my fathers, my uncles, and so on. It's been something we just grew up in. My sisters sing as well. Everybody's a singer. Cousins, distant or close.
Literally in the blood.
It's just in the bloodline. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So I read through your biography, and throughout the interview, I got to reference a few things I saw in your biography. But the first thing that stood out to me, as a child, you won gold medals
Oh yeah.
at school arts festivals.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
That was twice. I can't exactly remember the years, but yes, I remember Auntie Pearl. The first time I performed at the school arts festival, she was like, I've never heard a voice with that kind of range. And she gave me a lot of guidance. And the next time I came in, I got the gold again. There was our music teacher, Maria Waldron, who also helped me to develop my voice at that time to prepare for the festivals. There was a year where it was both Akim Ishmael and I who took the gold medal at that time. But it's something I'm proud of. It's something I'm happy that we have here to be able to encourage young people who sing and so on to be able to build their voice and be awarded for it from a young age. So, yeah.
Okay. So another thing I noticed is you've done performances all over the world. You performed in the UK, you performed in Europe.
Yeah.
You've done like literally international performance. Tell us about your journey as an international performer.
Okay, so the first time I left Dominica was early on. I was around 16 or so on.
So
I went
still
to
young.
Yeah, I was still young. I went to perform at Martinique. That was the first time I performed, and then I performed at Antigua another time. And as Li Octave, that's when I really started to make a lot of other travels professionally. When I met my manager, he kind of took me on. Mr. George, he shaped the artists that everybody sees today with a lot of guidance and training. And then we started going out. The first travel was to Beckway for the Beckway Music Festival. And then we went from the Beckley Music Festival, I got an opportunity to attend Womex. The first time I think was in Manchester, and then we had some performances there. We performed at Liverpool as well, and from that came a performance at the World Trade Organization Geneva, Switzerland, and then around that same time we had Algeria not too long after, and then we returned to Womex, and the travels just kept moving. I tried to keep up with it, but yeah, that's outside really appreciates unique music.
Yes.
And music that's true to where you come from. So I think that really sparked their interest, and it opened up a lot of doors for us to be able to travel and
All
do
over
more.
the world.
Yes.
So you literally traveled all over Switzerland.
Yes.
Algeria, that must have been
Yeah,
a different
Finland,
experience.
and so Algeria was very interesting because I mean it's on the African continent, and the people there were very different. Everything was still very fast paced. I was surprised. I don't know why I expected things to be a little slower. Everything was still very fast paced, well developed, and so on. The accommodation, the treatment was through the roof. That was the first time I actually got. Yeah, that was literally what it was, like escorts and a designated driver, anything you needed handled. Like you can't make calls on your own. You have to go let them handle everything. And I was like, oh wow, okay. Yeah.
So all right, so I read your biography again, I referenced your biography.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is the next thing that stood out to me, and I'm assuming that's how you got your name. You can sing in 4 octaves.
Yes.
Oh. I
Oh
mean,
my
that,
gosh.
and I was like, 4 octaves.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand music, so I know what that means, but I think for the people out there,
Yeah.
explain to them what that means, because that's impressive.
It means that that Li Octave has a wide range. I can go really low and I can go really high. And it's interesting how the name came about because I was in the studio recording this song Glory, and doing the background vocals, because I do the background vocals for majority of the songs, and they asked me to go really low. He was like, do one lower. I was like, okay, I did one lower. And then he was like, you can do one lower again. I did do one lower. It was almost close to the bass register.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, now go on top the first one. I went. And he was like, all right. So again, he was like, oh, but Lily have octaves, man. So Mr. George and Dion Henderson came up with the name there, like Li Octave. That's how it came about.
Okay, so that's how you got the name.
Yes.
All right. So if I don't know, if you don't understand music, go and tell your research and understand, because 4 octaves. It's not often able to meet somebody that can sing in 4 octaves.
Oh boy.
So, all right. Speaking about that now, obviously that sparked my curiosity, and I have to ask the next question.
Yeah.
What does it take to train your voice to have that kind of range?
It takes a lot because of, especially for the kind of music that I sing, that I do, it's not like it's not really 100%, or like to say bouillon or so on, where it requires so much energy that even if you can't really sing, so to speak, you can get away with a lot of things. It requires a lot of precision. And so my manager is also my vocal coach, Lindsay George.
Okay.
And he did a lot of work. I put him for a lot.
Because management
yes, I'm telling you, it's right there always. So when I started off, I used to sing. I had a lot of belting range, but I was not approaching the music properly with my voice, my form.
Okay.
So I would sing and do a very good performance, but afterwards I could not speak because my approach to the singing was so It was just raw. That was just raw talent at that time. So after doing the vocal training and coaching and so on, I was able to f- build a form that would allow that to happen. So on a daily basis, really, I have to practice more sing speech, which I'm not doing now, which I know I'm gonna get a scolding for at some point because it requires me to stay in singing mode, so I will not wind up having my voice jumping from a cold on um, non-warmed state into a, okay, you have to demand this now,
Yes,
get
yes,
it,
yes, yes, yes.
working. So normally this is how I speak. Normally I have a lot of depth to my voice, but when I'm going into performing, I you have to change it to sound more like this. It's more in my head voice, and I'm usually singing more.
Okay, okay,
So
okay.
it sounds lighter, and it's like some people think it's something like a put on, but it's really just to allow me to stay in an area where I can, as soon as I open my mouth, I can
You
just
can
sing because
articulate and
I'm always singing. It's
okay.
almost like yeah, they're like, oh, you're always singing. You sound like a Yankee. And I'm like, it's not really yanking. It's just I'm trying to stay warm. So when I do go into the singing, I can.
You're ready to go. Your voice already warm.
Right.
Yes, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I sing for years and I feeling like I get in a music lesson right now.
Yeah.
But okay, so I want to stay on that subject just for a little longer because
Mhm.
I did music myself and I understand music, and I don't think I understood it to that depth. But explain to the people the importance of maintaining and protecting your voice. And something on to reference. When I met this lady not too long ago, and when I met her, we were having a little conversation, and then a little drizzle started to fall. And the manager run out. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's the drizzle. We have to put up
No.
a vote and this and that. And to the average person, it might seem a bit extreme.
Yeah,
But
it's
when
very
when you're
important.
doing what you do professionally, that's an important thing. But I don't think a lot of people out there understand that. So give us a little
No.
quick, oversight about that.
Every single thing from diet and activities and so on. Because this is a voice that's a part of us. It's not an external thing that you can just tune up and just run with it. So you have to take care of the body that hosts the voice so the voice can perform.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's how you eat, it's your activities. I always have to incorporate some kind of a walking on a regular because I don't want to be out of breath and sometimes walk and speak and sing so I can keep that breath control. I can remember once my manager had me mark timing and dancing in the office just to and singing to be able to get that timing, breath control. You stretch the lungs, you allow the lungs to adapt to what is happening now. So it becomes part of your muscle memory.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's built in you. And then, of course, the elements, because your body can respond differently to anything at any time. And especially when it's close to performances. Like he said, some people might think it's a bit extreme, but my manager is very decent. He's on it
Very
on
disciplined,
me
very
for it. Yeah, he's very, very strict by that. So staying away from the rain, not being too exposed to the sun and having to go into a cold temperature too quickly and so on. All these things are things that are considered because I don't want to have to, catch a draft or something at that time. A lot goes into it.
okay. All right. So moving on to the interview now. One of the reasons we invited you to be a part of this interview is because we're in Jazz and Creole season.
Yes.
And I think that, as somebody that live outside there in the diaspora myself, people know about Creole Festival, they know about Carnival, they know about Bouyon. But this is a I wouldn't say very, but it's a relatively unknown part of Dominica culture. But when you actually come here, you realize people probably don't know it out there, but in Dominica is a major part of the culture,
Yes,
especially this time of year.
That's right.
So for the people out there that don't know, give us a little oversight of the Jazz and Creole season.
Okay.
And the culture.
So the thing is, I even mentioned it at one of the press conferences that jazz, something in the early 1960s was something that came about in the States. That's in, especially in the area of New Orleans and so on. This is where jazz came about from blues. Now, these people, there were some guys who wanted to be a part of the whole, playing in this with the other bands and so on, but they wanted them to be able to read music. And at that point, there were a lot of white bands being able to play because they had the blues. They were still carrying the blues. The blues had taken several different directions because of, colonization, all this stuff. So they wanted them to read the notes, but they could not. But they understood the music and they knew how music moved people. So they decided to play on their own what they understood was music. And of course, the lyrics carried a lot of social commentary for what they were facing at that time. So that's how jazz came about, almost as a rebellion. They did it in their own way. And then everybody wanted them to come and play here, play there. They couldn't enter through the main entrances because, we still had that racism thing going on at that time. But they at some point got the jazz genre to be respected. And when you look at the origination of jazz, jazz now has a lot of different variations that we still carry in our Caribbean music. Calypso is indirectly a form of jazz because of what jazz is. So it's not very something that's so disconnected to what we have in the Caribbean. And so we celebrate it in our own way with our styles, our own Caribbean elements, and so on, and our social commentary, talking about things that we face in a way that is art. So, and when it comes to Creole, we all know about again, the slave trade and our African speaking French people who came here. And then, of course, colonization, trying to teach them to speak the formal Queen's language, the English language, and they choosing to speak it in their own way. So you have the French and the broken English and so on that makes the Creole. So the Jazz and Creole is a melt of doing things our way, so to speak. And so this season, I was honestly really privileged to have been able to have written some original jazz music that has Caribbean elements in there. And there's some of the jazz music that is true to jazz, like to what would a person would have initially heard in jazz in its purest form. So we composed a bit of both, some contemporary jazz, some Caribbean jazz, and so on. And of course, jazz, soul, everything is under the same umbrella. So the Caribbean neo soul queen would have had to represent in soul in its different areas, Yeah, we did. So I'm happy that we're doing this way, and it's a part of the culture in the region. Every country has their own jazz event, so to speak. Some bigger than others, but in Dominica, the Jazz and Creole is growing to a level where I think soon we'll have those who are in New Orleans coming here trying to experience what exactly Dominica is doing here, because
I feel like
it's unique.
She's not exaggerating, because the Jazz and Creole concept is really growing and it's really creating an impact.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And yeah, we're glad to see it. The next question I want to ask is, when it comes to Jazz and Creole, we have a few names floating around, but what I realize, I'm a newbie to it myself, right? Doing my own research. What I realize is you are one of the main players, one of the integral players of the Jazz and Creole season, I should say, here in Dominica, right? How did you become such an integral part of the culture and of the season?
Okay, so like my sister Mikael said the other day, we are fans of staying true to a brand. So, we are not going to in this season, be like, okay, well, we're doing jazz and give you anything that is different. So I think we've become a staple because we stay true to what is jazz and Creole. I was introduced to jazz very young by my grandfather. He was a huge jazz fan. So we had a lot of Louis Armstrong, Nina Simone, and Etta James, and so on growing up. So this was a genre that I always loved to the core. So I understood it, and being able to understand it, where it comes from, it's you're going to be able to perform and connect to it differently. So I think all this led to being able to represent it on the local scene, because we know what it is, what it really is, and we do it for what it really is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Um. So obviously, Jazz and Creole was literally yesterday. As I said, by the time the interview is published, it will probably have been a week. What I want you to do right now is, first of all, how was it for you?
It was great. It was absolutely amazing. We started off the performance with an original song that kind of took everybody back a bit. So we had a little nostalgic moment with Free Summer, that's the name of the song. So it spoke about when we were young and when life was free, because everybody was playing, children were playing in the streets. They were playing ring games, ball games, hoop games, marble games. We used to go to the river and have fun, swing from ropes into the sea and all this, and cook on stones by the river, wash clothes by the river. And ring games were a thing. So you had ring game references in the song, and that everybody went crazy. When we started with there's a brown girl in a ring,
Okay.
and tra la la la, so everybody was like, hey, like, really? They're doing this in the music? And, we went to HLLO, Domino, 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 Biscuit. Here comes Jackie on a pony. And the interaction there it was breathtakingly different. And we had, later on in the set, some flashback hit songs. It's getting hot in here and so on, that people were just like, oh, wow, okay, that's new. And later down, towards the end of the set, we had This King, which was this was another highlight of the performance, because there was a lady who was singing the song. I had never seen her before, but she was singing the song word for word. And I mean, with time and restraint, we didn't sing the entire song, so we switched into something else, and she was like, but
You only let them really
we
know.
let her. But then when we got into it and we were like, Est-ce que tout le monde bien? Because we went into La Vie du Funk. That's it. That's that song. We were like, Est-ce que tout le monde bien? She was like, well. So everybody was, they loved that. They loved the interaction. And for me, it was a short time, but it was a time well spent. I loved how everybody received it.
Okay. So that was your performance now. Give us also a little review, for the people that weren't there and for the people that might be curious about
Yeah.
Jazz and Creole this year, how it went down. Give us a little review about the overall
Experience?
Yes.
Okay, the experience was great. When I came in, I almost missed the introductions of Firelanda, Jani, Khadija, and so on. But I got a little bit coming up the hill, from some of them, and I was like, this is all representation, and they held their end. It's a place where they're giving others an opportunity. Nile Grove was the one who won his place on the stage for the competition that they ran, and he handled himself exceptionally well. I was so proud, and the performances from the Manhattans and so on, the flashback stuff, darling, you are my shining light. And then there was Taurus Riley was exceptional. But before I get to Taurus, Michael Henderson. Always.
Let me tell you, I love Michael Henderson. I love
Always.
Michael Henderson.
Always.
Brilliant artist.
Always. Like there's no words. I think this year the selection was very good. Of course, you have the flow of the entire event and so on. I will hope we can. I just hope to see it grow to what we really can see it be. That trust me, it was thoroughly entertaining. And Taurus Riley really did his bits. I'm sure a lot of people saw that, But he really held it down. Like this was, we couldn't understand ourselves at the front of the stage, and it was great. I don't have any. I think Jazz and Creole owed us nothing this year. The experience was really good.
Great experience.
Yes. I think.
Okay, so another thing that stood out for me on your biography, right? And I'm going to read a quote because I read it and I was like, wow. So I'm going to read this quote. Officially credited as having created a genre called Caribbean Neo Soul, a sophisticated fusion of jazz, neo soul, and a rhythmic island vibrancy that perfectly embodies this year's Afrocentric theme. So, what stood out to me? You are credited with basically creating the genre.
Yes, the subgenre.
The subgenre.
Yes.
Caribbean
Neo Soul.
And also, I want you to leave your commentary, but I was trying to. I was saying what stood out to me. The other part that stood out to me is the Afrocentric part. Well, I am a very Afrocentric guy.
Yeah.
And that kind of stood out to me. So, first of all, tell us how you came to create the genre. And give us an insight into what that genre is, because I had to go and listen to some of your music. And ladies and gentlemen, brilliant singer, nice music, just beautiful music. But just give us an overview. What is Caribbean Neo Soul, and touch on the Afrocentric part of it.
Okay, so Caribbean Neo Soul is a fusion of Neo Soul with the elements of Caribbean music. So, Caribbean music, basically the bass line and the drum carry the differentiation in any set genre. The bass line for reggae and the bass line and the drum pattern for reggae is different from calypso. It is different from zouk. It's different from kadas. It's different from compa. You can keep the roles. Well, of course, in compa, you have the guitars. That's a little more prevalent and so on. But you could basically keep the other elements the exact same and change the bass line and the drums to let the genre change from compa to zouk and so on. So we understand that these two elements really carry our Caribbean genres.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, well, let's introduce the other elements in the form of neo soul. So you have the keyboards, which play a big part of the neo soul genre. Of course, bassline, guitars too, in a sense. But neo soul is a live set or a live genre. It's not electronic instruments. That would be more R&B.
Yes.
So it was very easy to merge these two genres because of the live music element. And so that's how the Caribbean neo soul came into be. So we have neo soul songs that have a little bit of reggae, a little bit of kadas, and some of them are just completely infused. It's almost like a bouillon of its own, but with a jazzy flair. Yes.
Okay. So we're moving on now. The next thing I want to talk about is you had your own event, which is part of the Jazz and Creole season.
Yes.
And it's called Jazz and Dine.
Yes.
Tell us about that event.
Okay. Jazz and Dine is well, my label, the label that manages me, which is White Music. The slogan is elevate. Elevated is our music. We so in the line of elevating our music, we created an event that would advertise what is ours. So, Jazz and Dine is not your typical just come and listen to musical accompaniment and have a glass of wine and just enjoy. You know, it's where you come and you take in the creativity of whoever is performing. So it's a creative event. The music that is there is music that is original. So there you don't have too much of covers being performed at Jazz and Dine because also every year at Jazz and Dine I release music there. So I would write throughout the year, and at Jazz and Dine everybody gets to a debut of whatever was written.
Okay.
Yes. We we encourage others to do the same. Joy Stout got to do that, a little bit of that at the event. She had written a musical book, and she performed some of those at the event. So it's somewhere where we just want to encourage everybody to create and build more of what is ours. And this is a platform to be able to do it within the jazz season. This year, I wrote 20, 26 songs, and we only performed like around 18 of those. So those will go into next year. But it just added to the catalog, which is now 71 songs in total that I've written.
71.
71.
That is a lot of music.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
All right. So obviously that was part of the whole Jazz and Creole season we have in here in Dominica.
Yeah.
What would you say, just to close off the section of the interview now, what would you say to someone out there who has never experienced not just the event Jazz and Creole, but that side of our culture, because that's a very vibrant side of our culture.
Yeah.
Not just Jazz and Creole itself, but Dominica is a very musical place.
Yes,
a lot
it
of
is.
musicians, and I think that is where Jazz and Creole come from. You know, the musicianship,
Right.
not to call it that,
Yes.
that we have in Dominica is what inspired that side of things. So for somebody that never experienced that part of our culture, what would you say to them?
I would say that if you're someone who loves culture, first of all, let me start there, then it would be important to embrace every part of the culture. So we have Bouyon, which is there all through the year. And I love my Bouyon. I think we've done exceptionally well in the area of Bouyon.
Definitely.
And there are other areas that are, I wouldn't say undiscovered because there's light on it now. And there's avenues where you can go to experience it. So we want everybody to come out during this jazz season. Is not just one jazz event. Jazz and Creole is not just the Jazz and Creole event, which is the main stage at Fort Shirley Cabris National Park. Jazz and Creole is a line of events that lead up to the main event. So you have fringe events. And at these fringe events, you hear other artists, some of them still developing, some of them new. You hear their creativity, you hear how they settle themselves in the music, how they've given it their own spin. And it's important to attend the fringe events for that reason. A lot of the undiscovered or unheard artists are there. And your presence being there, your support, and so on, giving them the exposure that they need is what propels them to go through, to make it to the big stage, to even go further than the big stage. So I encourage everybody to come and hear what Dominica has to offer during the jazz season. During the World Creole Music Festival, we have 3 nights of pulsating rhythms. during the jazz season, we have a whole month of pulsating rhythms. I put it this way. So you really want to come and support that and experience it. You know, it's a different flavor, and you still get, like I said, it's not so far from the bouillon. The bouillon is like a soup. It's everything in one. You get everything, and you do get a bit of everything in the jazz, but it's a little more on the mellow side.
Okay.
Yes, so come and enjoy it. Yeah.
All right. The next question, I mean, we're heading towards the end of the interview now, but this is just a curious question I have to ask you. I think I spoke to Daddy Chess a few months ago and asked him a similar question because I'm curious. Somebody like you that have that vocal talent, right? How come you never pursued the bouyon side of things? The reason I ask it is because, in my opinion, right, there's a gap in that market. That is my personal opinion.
I get you.
Because you have somebody like Carlin XP, I think that's the only person I could say that represent the purely vocal, you know, really singing on bouyon, actually, like authentic bouyon, I mean.
Yes.
Right? And then you have somebody like you, such a brilliant vocal. How come you never pursue that avenue?
Well, to be honest, it's not something that has not been in the pipeline. I think it's just allowing times, because Trilla and I have talked about this for years. And he'll tell you, when he sees this, we have talked about collaborating for years on something like this. But it's just, I think time and our schedules just had not permitted us yet to be able to sit down and do something like that. Of course, I would not do any kind of bouillon. I think we've always wanted to see how we could experiment on something more like around a love kind of bouillon, you know? Yes. And so I think it's something that people can possibly see at some point, you know. Of course, after hearing this question right now, I'm going to have to call him and be like, okay, you know what, we really need to get this done. Yeah, we need to get it done for sure. Yes. Yeah, it's our music. I don't think I will go into it full time, like to be able to just like to immerse myself in it the way that my sister Colin has, because of course I believe in variety, and we can't all do the same. So this is what I feel truest to. I would love to do it because it's ours, and I love what we've done with the bouillon. And so, of course, I would love to be a part of it, and I think we will get to it.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a matter of time.
It's a matter of time.
All right. Well, yes. Next year carnival, I'm going to scroll through the list. I'm going to look for your name. All right. Before we close out the interview, you released an album in 2024 called Play on Venus.
Yes.
Tell us, or give us a quick overview about that album.
That album was really... So you know how they say men are from Mars, women are from Venus? So it was like, let's give you a taste of what it's like to play on the female perspective, what is our planet, you know? And so there were a lot of songs that were from the female perspective, struggling. There was the song Struggling, which is one of my personal favorites, because it's like we're always caught dancing between two versions of ourselves. There's who we are, or who we want to be, and who everybody sees us as. And so it's always because sometimes my first response is my truest response, and if I second guess, I may make a bigger mess, you know, kind of a vibe. But I want to respond this way, but I can't. So there's just different things that a lot of women related to, a lot of men knowing they're women related to, because they're like, man, it's a crazy journey sometimes. It's not an easy road. But that's what's Play on Venus last year. Very, very interesting spin on the female perspective that was just very honest, very blunt. I wasn't trying to mask it, because this is just who we are. We are blunt beings. we are who we are.
That's it.
Some of us are like, take it or leave it. Because, you know, you can't change. If you try to change a woman for anything that she is, you're not going to get a woman. So,
We set tight.
yeah, you know, that, yeah. Yes.
All right. So we've reached the end of the interview now, but before we go, if anybody is curious about, your music, want to connect with you, want to, see what you're doing, where can they connect with you?
Okay, so you can connect with me on Facebook or Instagram at Lili Octave, LILIOCTAVE, and on TikTok is Lily_Octave. So it's the same LILIOCTAVE, but the underscore is between the Lily and the Octave. And you could find me on any music streaming platform. You could go to iTunes, you could go to Deezer, you could go to SoundCloud, anywhere, and type in Lily Octave, and you will find Lily Octave.
All right.
YouTube, we're everywhere.
All right. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time to come and do this interview. Before we close out, is there anything you want to say to your fans out there? Anybody is interested in that?
Of course, I just wanted to continue being as supportive as you are. I appreciate all of you from the bottom of my heart. There would have been no Lily Octave without the support of everyone that I've met along this journey, everyone who's listened, everyone who's commented, everyone who said, yo, you did this, I love it, but you can do it a different way, and so on. And you've allowed me to grow, and I appreciate you so much. And to those who been following, this is I'm always going to be an advocate for being your true, authentic self. Continue to grow, be humble, be grateful for everything. And I just can't wait to continue doing big things that you can be proud of.
All right. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. We've come to the end of another edition of Love Bouyon Talks. And once again, we thank our guest, Lily Octave, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow us, hit the notification bell, and keep up with what we're doing. Next week, we're going to have another artist on the platform, so keep an eye. Thank you guys for listening. Till next time, this has been Love Bouyon Talks.